The question, how do we get things done as an organization, is really asking ourselves whether we have a hero culture or a team culture. In a hero culture, the organization relies on a few individual high performers who are often seen as irreplaceable to solve critical problems and drive outcomes. This is not an uncommon scenario in startups, for example, and it's not necessarily an issue short term. In fact, we always need individual high performance with that drive to move forward in order to break new ground. However, when things start to scale, either the size of the organization or the size of the work, relying on heroism becomes increasingly costly from a performance perspective. If the only way that we can get things done is by individual brilliance or, worst case, individual sacrifice, we have bottlenecks everywhere and dependencies. And as anyone with a little bit of insight into lean thinking already knows, dependencies kill organizational flow. So in order for our enterprise to scale and make it more resilient to what is sometimes called the red bus factor, we need the ability to minimize dependencies and a way to multiply competence and a collective sense of responsibility. To do so, we must value collective effort and collaboration. We need stable, mature groups of people who have both the technical competence and the mandate and the culture of acting as one team. Why is this stability important? Well, if one is to believe the findings of Google's Project Aristotle, and I do believe one should, the most important ingredients in high-performing teams is psychological safety, something that is further backed up by the research of Amy Edmondson. Psychological safety doesn't appear overnight. We have to build up the trust between each individual of the group. This is essentially what Bruce Tuckman describes in his model for group development: forming, storming, norming, performing, and how groups tend to regress in maturity if there is personnel change. When there's a new relationship to build, the total trust and psychological safety within the group drops, as does the performance. So we do want to strive for stable, mature teams, preferably a value stream-oriented, cross-competence team, but now we're entering lean territory, so let's leave it at stable and mature teams. If individual achievements is on the one end and mature teams is on the other end, what sort of intermediate steps are there in between these? Well, let's start with the far too common project team. A project team is a temporary team put together to deliver a specific objective within a limited time frame. The usual problem with these teams is that they don't get the time they need to properly gel. They never reach that state of psychological safety and trust between all the individuals. Furthermore, product teams usually consist of members that have been given a percentage of their work time to this specific project. Especially the star players, whose competence is perceived to be needed in a lot of different places. So they end up working 25% here, 30% there, splitting their time between numerous different contexts. Not only does this lead to performance leaks due to context switching, it also leads to that this project team never becomes a proper team. To once again refer to the football analogy I used in the previous episode, no professional football player ever plays for more than one team at a time, not even the best players. I assure you that Kylian Mbappé does not have a line manager with a spreadsheet like this one, because that would simply be absurd. Now, to go full circle with this analogy, yes, the star players are called to play for the national team, so they do sometimes play for other teams. In other words, a temporary team of star players is put together to deliver a specific objective within a limited time frame. However, their schedule is cleared of everything else, and they're assigned one of the top managers in the world in order for this to actually work, and they get time to do intense practice in order to learn how to operate as a team. Tell me, how many project teams get that kind of treatment? Safe to say, very few. So we do want to aim for stable teams, which a lot of organizations actually do, but these teams are not always provided with the conditions to become great teams. They are not coached properly, they are not given clear missions and objectives, they are, in all but name, a work group. A team is a group of people with a common goal who need each other's competence and to collaborate to reach that goal, and they constantly strive to perform better as a unit. That is a team. In order to reach a true team culture, we need to constantly be on the lookout for which behaviors and processes we have that drag us in the direction of a hero culture and counteract that. One of the main ingredients for a team culture is natural collaboration and exchange of information, even between teams and organizational departments. So the next thing we need to ask ourselves is, how easily do we collaborate across organizational boundaries? Be that team boundaries or organizational boundaries. That will be the discussion for next episode. See you then.